Hello, it is Banks. This is my extra channel. It's not my regular channel, so make sure to sub. But we are going to talk about some of the data mine cards. So recently, every patch, there's usually a new set of data mine cards that we take a peek at. Some of them come out exactly as they're shown. Some of them are a little bit changed by the time they actually show up. But it's great to just kind of see what's cooking and what might be coming in the future. The first one we're going to look at here is Annihilus, a 5 energy, 8 power, primo statted. I think 5/8's probably your primo stats. You can't be 5/9, but then it's always scary to play 5/9s, right? On reveal, your cards with 0 or less power switch sides. Destroy those that can't. 0 or less power. Couple things you can think about. Rocks. So for instance, you can follow up this with debris. Play debris, throw over a rock just like Viper, right? Your opponent throws a goblin at you. Bingo bango, goblin gone. Send him right back. Just like how Odin does, except all directly in one card. Like Widow's Bite, I guess, can get sent over. There's not really too many 0-cost cards. Sentry, yeah, so Sentry's Void. There's another way. On curve, you can play Sentry into Annihilus to send the Void over to your opponent. Very nice, but Viper kind of does the same thing in a similar way. So interesting to see how you'd want one of these in your deck. How I can see this seeing play. Junk style decks, I think, might want it. I mean, just playing a 5/8 that can also continue to do your bad stuff. Give them an Iron Man for free as a joke. Stealing Iron Man would be great. Yeah, that'd be pretty nuts. So Sentry's big. Hood, you can send Hood over. So it's kind of like a giant Viper that can always target the right cards. Rocks, your opponent's goblins. Yeah, I think Junk would probably run this in like the Spider-Woman spot. Something you can play on 5, on curve. Feel really good about it very often. And those Junk decks are almost always going to have one. Yeah, and it would kill the Sentry if there's no space. So you can't just block everything out, which is really, really good. I don't think Viper got power scaled. Viper is still 2 cost, right? 3 minus cost for a similar effect is pretty big. So I could see this in a Junk style deck. Outside of that, I don't really see anywhere else for Annihilus to take place. There may end up being a time where there's other small cards that you create on your side, but at any point those end up being kind of like chunky type decks. Play Goblin on Cosmo, Deadpool emote, then Annihilus, and then have it still not go off because it's a Cosmo lane. Love it. So I think that this card fits into the Junk deck, maybe makes it a little bit stronger. I mean, I buy all the cards that come out, so I'll definitely buy it, but probably not something that you're going to target as a super high-end deck, but a very annoying card for sure, especially if goblins are very much still in the meta. I can do the bit and still win, so true. Yeah, actually, you can do Cosmo on Kamertage, and then, or Cosmo on, or like a Goblin on Wong, and then send it over to Nihilus. There's now technology to get over the hump. Love to see it. Moving on, we're going to say ManThing. A 4/5, so a little bit under Primo stats. At a 4, you want to be a 4/6. Ongoing 1, 2, and 3 cost cards here have -2 power. So interesting. So you infect your own side, so it's not your opponent's 1, 2, and 3 cost cards. It's all 1, 2, and 3 cost cards. So this is a little bit scary. It can jump back and it can hurt you, but it can be a really, really powerful 4/5. Really strong card. Rex Kitty? Not really. It's an ongoing effect. I can just play it off of the Kitty lane. It's really doesn't do anything to Kitty. Interesting card in like a maybe, I don't really know what kind of deck this goes in is the big problem. I can't really see it working too much in a ramp style deck. I think it's going to be kind of a meta dependent tech target. It might find its way into ramp style decks because those don't really have any big cards. Evolved Abomination, very interesting. It would be an affliction, huh? Ongoing afflictions do count. Ongoing afflictions should count. Okay. I don't know if High Evo's makes too much sense for it though. Zabu Junk? Could be. Junk decks use a lot of small cards though. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard, right? It's kind of hard to see where this card really fits in. Yeah, Luke. I guess that makes a lot of sense, right? In a Luke deck, Could probably have Luke in that like a junk hazmat-y kind of deck. Really interesting. Luke really helps, but also gets countered by Luke. Just look at this compared to like Typhoid Mary. It's like if you negate the bad effects of Typhoid Mary, you get 10 stats for your 4. You have to hit 3 opponent cards to really be over Typhoid Mary value. But can't get Sean, right? Potential Spectrum synergies, potential Onslaught synergies. But only working in one lane is a little bit tough. Interesting. This is a deck where I don't really know. I really don't know where it's gonna fit. Could be junky, could just not be all that crazy strong. But an interesting card, a very interesting card. The kind of like a affliction ongoing that's mirrored, but you can kind of work towards. Interesting. Black Knight, a 1 energy 2 power card. When you discard a card, add the Ebony Blade to your hand with that card's power once per game. So essentially, Black Knight goes down, and you basically get to hold a discard. So like you discard a card, but then you get like a shadow of it, kind of a pigged version of it in many ways, right? We look at the Ebony Blade here. It's a vanilla card, so it says the Black Blade Blazes. The Black Blade Blazes. Say it 5 times fast. Black Blade Blazes. Very interesting. So you get like a 4, basically a pig, very similar to a pig. You basically pig your own hand when you discard. Yeah, it goes down to Shadow King Wood. My first thought, Sif Infinite. Pretty crazy, right? Like if you're in some kind of just like Sif Ghost Rider type deck, you Sif your Infinite with this on the board. You get a 620 in your hand. Discard the Infinite. I don't know if APOC would work, right? Because this is after you discard a card, like would it add it to your hand? It should. It should. Yeah, because this is after, yeah, it should. Yeah, it's a vanilla card. So the best thing, I look at this and I see it in like a Sif deck. Could be in like a Hella type deck, where the first discard that you get, but I feel like you have other better cards that you can throw in there. Should be a free copy of Drac. I mean, that would be the most broken card in the game. Yeah, Infinite would be a 420. Nice. Sif Infinite into Blade into Ghost Rider. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to Blade it though. I mean, you could just play it on 6, right? I don't think you have to worry about like discarding it multiple times, but I guess you could. They said once per game. I mean, it would get crazy, right? You'd like, I don't know. I feel like it would be crazy. You'd Modok and then your hand would just still be there. It'd be crazy. Oh, Ebony Blade. Gotcha. Yeah, Ebony Blade. Well, you'd have to Blade into Sif Infinite, right? But yeah, this would be ridiculous if it wasn't once per game. You would just be able to Modok for free. It'd be insane. I really like this. We need a card that gives -2 energy cost. Someone didn't live through the Zabu meta, I see. I think this is really cool. It's a really cool discard tool. It's very unique, very novel. I think that it works best in Sif Ghost Rider type decks, and I think it's actually very strong in Sif Ghost Rider type decks. I think those are already underplayed. Black Cat. Great Black Cat synergies. You have this in your hand, you draw Black Cat. Black Cat discards, you get a 4/9 in your hand. That's pretty solid, right? Like you'd run all those in a Ghost Rider, like Sif Ghost Rider type deck. Really intrigued. I think that this will be really fun. Really fun. Then this is the Ebony Blade, which I already talked about. Gladiator. A lot of people have talked about this one, and this card looks broken as hell. Gladiator. On reveal, add a card from your opponent's deck to their side of this location. It has less power. Destroy it. What pisses me off is it feels like there's a whole extra part of this that should be here, where it should say if it has more power than Gladiator gets destroyed, because I think it's much closer to fair if Gladiator dies, the card is bigger, and it's much more thematic in my opinion. Like Gladiator summons something and then you see if the Gladiator's there and then it dies. Now does the on reveal go off first? Like does the Gladiator card that it brings out, does that on reveal go off? That changes the card a lot, right? If it's White Tiger, if it's a Doctor Doom, you're totally fine because your opponent gets a 3/8, but then you get a bunch of benefits, right? I think there's a lot of interesting things that can come with this card. I wish that it died if it pulled a bigger card, because it kind of like if you pull like your opponent's Chavez, then you get a 3/8, your opponent gets a 6/9. Nice. Yeah, I think it should be like a Warrior Falls effect. It should say just like they fight. Like they fight. The lowest one dies. Like that would be great, right? I think it will too, yeah. It's too thematic, right? 3/8's ridiculous. 3/8's just a really insane stat line. We don't have any cards that are a 3/8 in the entire game. 3/8 is bonkers stat line. Just so much power on the final turn to throw out. You play this on like turn 6, right? In like a Sarah deck. Crazy. Chavez counters this though? Kind of. You just play it on 6, right? After they already draw the Chavez. And Chavez only, if you play it on curve, Chavez is one of 6 cards in the deck. It's hard. It's hard to see how this won't be broken. I really, if they do make it so that they fight, I think it's somewhat fair. And if the reveals go off, I think it's somewhat fair. If they print it like this and the reveals don't go off, it's going to be absolutely insane. But if they make it pull the bottom card, and then it's just always Chavez, you still can just play it on final turn, right? I don't know. We'll see. I think this card seems way overtuned. I doubt we'll get it to show up exactly like this without them fighting. If the reveal goes off, it's like pretty close to being okay. People look at it as like destroying a card in your opponent's deck, and that's powerful. It's not really. You're kind of thinning their deck, giving them more understanding of what they can draw. Even if it destroys the card. I think it really is going to depend if the on reveal goes off. Because like, what if, you know, you have Jubilee in your deck, you know, it pulls the Jubilee out, Jubilee pulls a card and then it dies. Like, that seems fine. I'm interested to see what happens here. I think this card, if it comes out like this though, it's a 5 out of 5 card. I think it's broke. It's crazy broken. It's so good. Werewolf by night. After playing an on reveal card at another location, move there and gain +2 power. Interesting move card. Very interesting, very unique move card. Really hard to like make this work how you want it. I feel like this card is going to be one of those cards where it seems kind of cool on paper when you're working out the combos in your head, but then you realize the location limitations and it becomes just really tough, man. I think this is the final piece of Movement Surfer to make that a very strong deck. So I think the Movement Surfer will love this card. Movement Surfer has always felt like it kind of needed like one more pretty solid move card to fill in. I think this will be really good in Movement Surfer. This card, I think this card will frustrate you a lot more than you think. I think that like once you have this on the field, it's like it's really frustrating to have it move around and like clog your lanes. Move bounce. That sounds like a lot of work, man. I mean, to get to Silk levels, you have to like make it move twice, right? The thing with Silk is like you don't have to do any work. It's just a 2/5, which is crazy. This is a 3/3 that you have to do a bunch of work to get up to like a 3/7. I think it could work. I think it'll. I don't think it's a shoo-in for move decks. I think people really. I think usually when they say move there and gain +2 power, you have to fulfill the condition. Most of the time, in my opinion, correct from what I've seen. It makes Heimdall playable because you can Heimdall and then the werewolf moves to it after. That's actually really interesting. That's actually really interesting. It makes Heimdalling the right lane really powerful. That's quite interesting. That's quite interesting. Yickety, thanks so much for coming to Banks, fan. Welcome in. Aunt May is +3 and move. You're right. I think it's different though. It's saying when you play a card here, move there. Maybe I would say move there to gain +2 power. They do say the same. Yeah, interesting. I don't think it would gain power if it didn't move, but I guess we'll have to see. Yo, Josh, thank you, thank you. I think this card will be more frustrating than people think. I think that it'll fit into Movement Surfer. I think that'll be a interesting inclusion in sub-move lists, but I don't think move lists are going to be all that good. Move Wave is kind of the best move list right now, and I don't think this fits in a Move Wave. It would die and then move to Galactus, yeah, so it would just die. Interesting card though, cool inclusion, and like I said, you'll be able to find some really fun decks with it, but I don't think it'll be broken by any means, or just like an auto include in any movement type build. Just a cool additional tool to have. Martyr, yo, this one is so cool. This card is so cool. This is one of the coolest cards they've ever made, in my opinion. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. It can move 3 times a turn. It can move probably infinitely. It could probably move 6 times per turn. Yeah, add viewer. Add viewer. So true. Dude, this card is good, man. There's no way a 2/6 is bad. There's no way a 2/6 is bad. I refuse to believe a 2/6 can be bad. Is she better than Silk? No. I'd rather take a power cut to be more controllable and have some benefit to Silk. It's not actually a 2/6 unless you go wide fill the board. What if you're, you know, what if you're within 6 power of 2 lanes? It really is a 2/6 a lot of the time. Why didn't Martyr move? So true. Actually, incredibly fun. Zero works great with this. I think this card is really good. This card is really, really good. Forge and a Martyr and a Viper. I do want to give your opponent 9 power. You want to spend 6 energy to give your opponent 9 power. I don't like that. Instantly moves the bar with no name. It's true. Living Tribunal decks? Interesting. I don't think you'd run this in a Living Tribunal deck though. It's just not at the power curve. Yeah, it's not worth just getting 2 power per lane. Bass and a Martyr and a Viper is better. Why would you ever want to give your opponent this card? It's power. You wouldn't want to give your opponent this card. You just wouldn't play it. You'll almost always go to Fist Tower. Yeah, pretty rare she wouldn't go to Fist Tower. Super cool. Reverse Captain Marvel, really, really fun. Really, really fun. I think very, very powerful card too. I think in like Sarah decks and stuff, you'll love to just have a 2/6. I think there will just eventually be a deck that's just all like three 6s and 2 5s, and Sarah, and you just play you just play chunky cards and fill up everything. It is possible for 2 Marvels to move. The only way 2 Marvels can move is if the first Marvel moves to get you Season Pass XP to win 1 location, and then the second Marvel moves to win. Which is kind of like doesn't really make sense. And it's kind of like a broken interaction, but it's so rare it doesn't really matter. I hope she dances like Marvel, yeah. Super cool card, love it. Love the idea of this card. One of the coolest cards they've ever designed. Very excited. Elsa Bloodstone, 2/2. If you play another card to fill a location, give it +3 power. Dazzler's best friend here. This card is interesting. If you trigger it once, it's a 2/5. 5 out of 5 card with Shanna, hilarious. Kitty Pride, that's broken interaction. I actually didn't, yeah, Kitty's best friend. Holy. Jeff and Nightcrawler. Mysterio doesn't really matter, right? Martyr also doesn't really matter because you have to play a card into location to fill. The Kitty is crazy. I didn't really think about Kitty. Kitty is absolutely disgusting. The Kitty line is absolutely disgusting. They might have to look into that because that's just insane. Give it the card. Yeah, Nightcrawler Jeff also very good. This would just slot directly into that kind of silky smooth deck and be very disgusting. Beast Falcon? I think that's too much work. But yeah, it does work, but This looks pretty crazy. I mean, if you can trigger it twice, it's insane to 2/8 worth of value. It's like, you know, nearing collector numbers in those Loki decks, right? This is nuts. This is nuts. 5-star card if it's printed like this. Being able to just do 2 and then have it be a 2/8 is just crazy. Nah, there's no way it would be a 1 trigger thing. Season pass card coming at 12 powers before the next patch. So you think that there can't be changes if that's the case? At the precedent? Oh, that works. I guess that makes sense though. They could probably OTA it, but they might not want to do that. Crazy card. If the kitty interaction works how you think it is, that's absolutely busted. Final card that we're going to talk about today. Wait, this one is a big one. There's a lot going on with this card. This is another card that people are incredibly excited about, myself included. Nico Minoru. I believe Nico is one of the Midnight Suns, if I remember that. Pie Boy, thank you for the tier 1. Appreciate you. Such a bad card. Oh. I don't think it's such a bad card. I don't think it's amazing. Obviously, inconsistency is bad. 1 out of 5? Y'all are actually crazy. 1 out of 5. Alright, after you play your next card, cast a spell. The spell changes each turn. So, you have a multitude of different spells that we can get. Let's see if we can just open all of them. Let's open them all. So, there are 7 different spells that Nico can have. And I believe that it will just have 1 when you start. And then every turn the spell will change. So you'll draw her. And she has, after you play your next card, it becomes a demon. So a 1/2 that turns your next card into a demon. So if it has anything less than 6 stats, you're just getting a little buff. Not too shabby. If this was a card, yeah, you have to just judge, like, if each of these individual cards was a card, how strong would this card be? This card would be crazy if it was just a card that just said this, I would say. I think this would be absolutely insane, right? This is just a card. I think that this card would be an insanely broken 1-drop if this was just it. Nico, on reveal, after you play your next card, destroy it and draw 2 cards. This one's a little funky because you kind of have to work into this. Yeah, I agree, get wrecked. But to look at the whole card, you have to see how broken are all of them and how different are all of them. So right now it seems like you want to play hood-like cards, like cards that aren't really that important for at least these first 2. You get to draw 2 cards. Now, a super aggro deck, this could be really good. Right? Crazy strong. And you can play this before Mr. Negative. Pretty crazy. So drawing 2 cards is insane, but you do have to destroy a card to do it, and maybe you don't have a card that you want to destroy. Interesting. On reveal, after you play your next card, move it 1 location to the right. This is just bounce. This would just be very similar to Iron Fist. Very mid-tier card. Probably one of the worst ones. Can be really nice in a pinch. Can surprise your opponent. You're not playing a move deck and you have some random big movement trigger. Probably one of the worst ones. On reveal, after you play your next card, give it +2 power. Just a 1/4. Very strong. Very strong. If this was a card, this would be broken. Probably. This would be one of the better 1-drop cards in the game. Basically a forge, an old forge with flip stats. Yeah, right is very unique. No other cards move to the right directly. So give it +2 power. I think it's very strong. It would probably be a top tier 1-drop. Flipped forge, flipped old forge. Crazy. After you play your next card, replace that card's location. Pretty bad. Basically just Scarlet Witch. Old Scarlet Witch is a 1/2. Old Scarlet Witch did have to get nerfed to a 2/3. So just a card you put in your hand. Be fine. You do have to play an additional card for it to trigger, so it's a little bit different, but you can play it on a Jeff, which is kind of cool. Like you can play it on a Jeff and then play it on like a Sanctum Sanctorum or something like that. So some interesting things you can do with it. After you play your next card, add a copy of it to your hand. Cracked. Insanely good. Very strong effect. Very, very powerful effect. Adding a copy of a card that you play and you already have in your deck is basically just a draw. Super, super strong. Very, very good. I mean, if this is a card, this would be broken. This would be in a ton of decks. Final one. After you play your next card, double this card's power. Again, just turns it into a 1/4 with potential upside. So if we kind of look at those 7 cards, say a few of them would make them like kind of the strongest 1-drop. A few of them would make them like right in the middle, and then a couple seem somewhat balanced. Overall, this is a card you're probably not going to want to put in your deck just because inconsistency is rough. I don't know if I would call it a 1 out of 5 where it's like just a meme card. Probably a 2 out of 5 where it'd be really meta dependent. There's not much Killmonger and maybe like some kind of aggro small drop deck comes available. Nico could be really, really good in like a deck that would want to run Hood. Well, a lot of the effects seem like something like Hood would be like really, really good, or that kind of deck with like small stuff you can destroy. Probably like a 2 out of 5. Pretty interesting. I would love to run it in decks just because it's like a cool card. You get like cool effects, you surprise people. This card will lead to some insane AQers. This card will lead to crazy AQers, I'm sure. What do you say? Thanos? This is great in Thanos, actually. This is really nice in Thanos. Great point, King Astro. I would love to play this in Thanos. Probably wouldn't be ideal to play in Thanos, but I would play it in Thanos. Turn your stones into a demon. Turn your stones into like a Mind Stone turns into draw 4 with this. That's crazy. Movement's probably fine. Just turns like a space stone. It's kind of like it kind of does feel a little bit like it's like a bunch of like the Thanos stones kind of put together, right? Again, like 2 out of 5 card, pretty darn cool. But anyway, this is me. I'm Binks. These are the data mine cards. Like and subscribe. This is my extra channel, so make sure you're subscribed here. I can't wait to play with these cards. Goodbye. Goodbye now.